Okay. All right. We'll call this regular meeting of the Culpeper, the Town of Culpeper Planning Commission to order. Would you please call the roll?
Mr. Serio?
Here.
Mr. Fitzsimmons?
Here.
Mr. Flanagan?
Here.
Ms. Schmidt?
Here.
Mr. Clemens?
Here. Let's see. Approval of the agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Okay, we have an agenda. Approval of the minutes from the October 30, 2025 work session.
I move we approve the minutes.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. All right, we have minutes. Comments and correspondence from citizens, visitors, and delegations in the audience. This is an opportunity for citizens to comment on any matter not scheduled for a public hearing. Is there anyone here tonight who wishes to speak? All right. Seeing no one, we will move on to unfinished business, comprehensive plan update. Andrew.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Dalton and I will be sharing this one. But I just want to start off by reiterating what we had discussed at our work session last month. Our goal with the regular meetings is essentially to update the Planning Commission and to update the public on the progress that's being made on the comprehensive plan update. So we'll essentially be reporting back a little bit on the homework that staff has done coming out of the work session, but we're not really going to be engaging in significant discussion amongst the Planning Commission this evening. It's anticipated that we'll do that at the upcoming work session and delve into sort of the next steps in the comprehensive plan process. So to follow up from our work session at the end of last month, we essentially started to kick off work on the vision statement for the comprehensive plan and what aspects were important to go into it. And we polled the commission and sort of went around and did discussion of some of the aspects. Staff took notes, incorporated all of those into some draft vision statements that were shared as part of the packet this evening. The first two of them actually were generated using AI, and staff has done some minor modifications. But again,
I could not get AI to do that.
What's that?
I could not get AI to do that.
Again, by no means are these anticipated to be the final products of what will essentially identify as the community vision as we move forward, but we thought it was a worthwhile starting point to incorporate the aspects that were discussed there. So the first one is a longer one, and I'll read it out for the benefit of those who are viewing, and it reads, the town of Culpeper envisions a vibrant and resilient future, one that prepares for tomorrow while preserving the heritage, character, and natural beauty that define our gateway to the Blue Ridge. We're committed to cultivating a high quality of life for all citizens through proactive investment in infrastructure, public facilities, and transportation systems that enhance connectivity, safety, and accessibility for pedestrian cyclists, and vehicles alike. The town will accommodate housing needs for all stages of life, preserving and enhancing existing residential areas while encouraging quality infill development that reflects our unique character. Through the promotion of walkable, pedestrian-friendly neighborhoods and business districts, we will create places where residents and visitors can live, work, play, and retire in comfort and community. Our thriving and sustainable economy will be strengthened by supporting tourism, the lifeblood of our area, while encouraging employment centers, smart commercial development, and a diversity of economic sectors that promote opportunity for all. We will foster a spirit of innovation, equity, and health, ensuring that every resident and business can grow securely and prosper together. Rooted in a stewardship of our historic legacy and natural environment, this vision embraces culture, commerce, and community as the foundation for balanced, equitable, and economically viable growth. Guided by our vision, supported by strong infrastructure, and implemented through thoughtful planning, we will ensure that the town of Culpeper remains a thriving, inclusive, and enduring community for generations to come, where voices, both young and old, are heard, opportunities abound, and the spirit of our past inspires the promise of our future. So that was the first one that we did. We then asked to condense that one down into something a little bit more manageable, more bite-sized, and so this was option 2 that was shared with the commission. Rooted in our rich past and inspired by the promise of tomorrow, the town of Culpeper embraces a vibrant future filled with opportunity, connection, and care. We are a community where culture, commerce, and creativity thrive together, a place for generations to live, work, and play amid the beauty of our Blue Ridge Gateway. Through thoughtful growth and stewardship, we preserve our character while investing in the people, places, and pathways that unite us. Walkable streets, welcoming neighborhoods, and thriving local businesses reflect our shared commitment to health, equity, and economic vitality. Here, history and progress move hand in hand, building a sustainable, inclusive, and enduring community where every generation can belong, prosper, and celebrate the spirit that makes Culpeper our home. And then for the third one, Ms. Dalton looked to pull together some of the things, so I'll let her present the third option that we have listed here.
Are these all AI offered?
The first two are. The third one, Ms. Dalton had pulled together.
They sound pretty AI.
You'll see repetitive language because we're using the ideas that you shared with us, right? So that it's all about wordsmithing and concepts and how it makes you feel. The town of Culpeper is the heart of the greater Piedmont. We embrace this role within the larger region by celebrating our culturally rich community that cultivates and attracts businesses, visitors, and residents alike. We recognize the importance of the many facets of community to ensure a vibrant, safe, healthy, and fiscally strong town for residents, businesses, and visitors alike. That seems like it got repeated. Through thoughtful growth and stewardship, we preserve our character while investing in the people, places, and pathways that unite us. The unique and independent town character serves as the springboard to establishing aspirational goals for Culpeper 2050, committed to community. Walkable streets, welcoming neighborhoods, and thriving local businesses reflect our shared commitment to health, equity, and vitality. The connection between goals is inherent when the linkages are identified to ensure the implicit connection with mobility, environment, placemaking, and health concerns are addressed holistically to support creating a vital community where choice is an option. Here, history and progress move hand in hand, building a sustainable, inclusive, and enduring community where every generation can belong, prosper, and celebrate the spirit that makes our town home. We will celebrate, connect, commit, collaborate, conserve, and create while we honor our past and empower our future. So I think that you see a lot of repetition in these. I think that what you want to kind of focus on is maybe first, how do we define Culpeper? Are we the centrally located? Are we at the gateway to the Blue Ridge? Are we part of the greater Piedmont? Like, those kinds of decisions of what you choose to put in will help you picture Culpeper. But for me, personally, what I like to see is making sure that we show that connection and the interrelationship between all of the things that you're going to complete in your plan, and that they're overlapping, right? Trails increase our health and our mobility and the functionality of how the town interacts. So each of these are going to overlap when you start to actually draft the plan and your concepts. So thinking of that connectivity and kind of having a broad enough vision statement that you can weave those personal goals back into one of those ideas is, I think, helps you when you're writing the rest of the plan. So, option 2, short and sweet, might get you right where you need to be, right? But you just need to look at it, like kind of tear it apart and think, well, with this phrase, we can go back and do this. And with this phrase, we can build in this. So what I had done when I first started drafting, 2 or 3, is I took all of y'all's points and I used very general terms. And then I said, well, this point we'd put it back in here. And at this point, we'd put back in here. So it's a good little exercise to take, the comments that you gave us and see if you can get that support from your vision statement.
So essentially, as we move forward, as we look to the work session, again, we've got some more homework for the Planning Commission now to take. We're going to ask you to essentially take these options, look at them make all sorts of markups on them. Which sort of structure do you prefer? That, as Ms. Dalton said, the short and punchy one of number 2, the more fleshed out one of number 1, the stylistic one of number 3. What aspect, or even which phrases do you like from each of them, and highlight those that we can look to pull together and merge into it. But Ms. Dalton has then also given you guys some other questions to look at the end of those 3 statements there. What do you value most about living in Culpeper? Again, we want to make sure that this is reflected in that vision statement. What are the strengths of Culpeper? How do these strengths translate to opportunities? What are the obstacles that you see to reaching the aspirational goals that we have for Culpeper? And then what are the weaknesses of Culpeper, and how might the strengths compensate for those weaknesses, or how can we address them head on? We want to be thinking about those things as we look to craft this statement to make sure that they are structured and incorporated into the plan itself. We'll also be sharing, Mr. Flanagan had shared a very creative basis of pillars to break up the plan in. And so we'll be sharing that with the commission as well, that we thought made a lot of sense and has a whole lot of promise for how we structure it. And then the final aspect that we want the commission to be thinking about, that we had mentioned previously, is who are the key stakeholders that we need to engage in this process? Who is it that we want to be inviting to the table to engage in these conversations about either the plan as a whole or particular aspects of the plan as we go through this process? Because as we get that information, we're going to be able to then tailor and structure the outreach and structure the development of the plan in the most effective way. So that's essentially what staff has for the purposes of this meeting. We're happy to take any questions that you have at this time. Again, we'd encourage you to hold off on any comments about the material itself, but more about the process and the structure that you may have this evening.
I do have a question. I mean, can you also just again sort of lay out the general timeline of this process, and sort of just for some clarity, this idea that before we're at the stage where we're engaging, inviting the public for comment, and sort of like what we're doing now as it relates to the full time frame.
Sure. So again, I'm leery of putting out a specific timeline as opposed to a sequence of events. So the sequence of events is essentially for the Planning Commission to develop an initial draft vision statement that you're comfortable with. We'll probably also look to have, stemming from that vision statement, the pillars, or essentially the chapters or subheadings, however we want to define them, of the comprehensive plan that will help to identify the structure. Our goal then is to look to share that with the community, either in the form of the targeted stakeholders or sort of a broader community public outreach at the discretion of the commission, to receive some feedback on that initial draft vision statement and that initial proposed structure of the plan. That will allow us and help to inform us then as we go into the actual drafting of the greater language and refining of the vision statement. Once we have a more complete draft of the whole plan, or potentially of just the individual pillars or chapters, we'll engage with targeted stakeholders if it's the individual chapters, or with the general public if it's the entirety of the plan, depending on which approach we want to go with, to get their feedback and input on it. And at that stage, once the commission is comfortable that we have a plan that represents the community's vision, we can look to take that forward through the actual public hearing process.
Yeah, and just to repeat what you said, that the purpose of this whole exercise is that this will be a comprehensive plan that reflects all of the residents of the town of Culpeper, and that that all residents will be invited to participate in this process. That we're literally just sort of almost like, mowing the grass on the field before the field is ready to be,
Right. Essentially, what our belief is that it's easier for the residents to respond and react to something put in front of them, as opposed to having that complete blank and not knowing where to start in terms of providing feedback and input to the commission on drafting this.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions for staff?
I would love to, this is something we will be working on for a while, and there's going to be backing and forthing and getting new information and rethinking stuff. I think it would be great if we each had a binder. I'm recycling my UDO binder. but with some pockets and things where we could keep our materials and make it an accumulative kind of process.
I am a product of the 80s. I'm a binder queen. I'll be happy to set up binders, dividers, pockets, copy of the existing plan, and some documents that may be of good reference.
And what might be cool to kind of seed it with would be maybe a word cloud or just a list of bullet points of some of the ideas that we coughed up at the last work session and that are incorporated in here. It's good to see them sort of worked into a dough like this, but it might be useful to see them just on a piece of paper if that's not too much work.
No, we can try to document our process and come back with, okay, at the last meeting, here are the ideas that you threw out. And,
It'll help us when we're looking at drafts to say, here's what we started with and here's how we're formulating it. Is there a better, more elegant, cleaner, more, clear way to do that? And I'm not dictating here. This is just what if I were in a candy store, I'd want some Reese's peanut butter cups and some Hershey's. So I'm just saying, here's what for me would be cool. And I can do some of this myself, no doubt. I would love to see, I like Jim, I kind of like to see a timeline, but I understand it's too soon to put actual dates on it. But a workflow document, kind of got an early start on this at our first meeting on the comp plan, just with the milestones, work milestones, and maybe to the side key, here's where we really need community input here. We need community input here. This would be a good place to have some hearings, some expert testimony. Maybe we want to have, we can talk about that later. Yeah, so I think that would be really super. And I guess I would also love, maybe we can put it on our discussion agenda at some point to talk about, we have obviously the last plan. And does the department have a sense or do we have an opinion of how much, there's a lot of content here and there's also a lot of structure. Some of this structure is prescribed for us in the state code. It would be kind of cool to know how much structure you think we might inherit. Are we going to start completely afresh and say we want to organize this? We're going to just blue sky it from day one, or do we want to have an outline of the current plan to look at and say this is our existing structure? How much of this do we want to carry over, and what parts of it do we think are inefficient? What parts do we have no choice about because it's in the statute? Does that make sense, or am I being super confusing?
Well, I think part of that conversation is actually starting at the next work session,
Okay.
where we're going to start looking a little bit at the structure of the plan and essentially the tenets or the pillars that we're going to be focusing the plan around. And I think a part of that will be looking at the existing plan and deciding what we may want or may not want to carry over as far as a grouping of themes or grouping of topics.
Yeah, I mean, are we going to use the same chapters, for example? Are we going to have similar objectives? Are we going to throw all the objectives out and start afresh? Is that completely up to us? Is it?
It's your plan. And it's an opportunity to have kind of a fresh start. I think you always rely on it. You don't want to throw away something that the community is used to, and you want to be able to weave it in appropriately. Mm-hmm. But there's probably a broader way of looking at many of those topics. Even in these statements where we talk about mobility and we say cars, pedestrians, bikes, I never hear this community talk about trains. I mean, we need to talk about our trains. Amtrak comes through. We have freight trains coming through. We don't talk about I serve on the PTB. The trolley is really magical in town, and it's a wonderful service. So just that mobility chapter alone has a lot more breadth, if you want to say. I'm not saying that the things that aren't in it can't be utilized, but we probably will. I would think that we would think about taking it a step further.
It's a really great example, too, of how the different threads intertwine, because it's transportation, but it affects everybody's convenience. It affects the economy. It affects tourism. It affects safety and welfare.
Right. Right. So from our sidewalks to our trails to our, so that's my point on connectivity and the overlapping. I'm a big fan of the built environment. And I think that your first reaction to a community is the built environment. And if you think about a land use plan that is driving your built environment, but what we know is that our built environment affects how we live, right? It affects our happiness and our health and our safety. So I really am always asking myself that question: how does this built environment move us to incorporate the other elements of a strong community? And what does that strong community look like? And what do we aspire for it to be? So, little.
Built environment is the most permanent part too, right? So once you put it in place, it's the hardest to change.
But small tweaks can often go a long way. So looking at it, through a couple of different lenses, we talk about mobility chapter again. We talk about street trees. We talk about what does that landscaping look like? What are our access points? So, okay, we were going. Sit down.
This is really great though, Connie. Thanks very much for
Mr. Chairman,
preparing
I
it.
have a question on the process. We already have 146 pages of a comp plan that's not broken. And we're trying to come up with a vision statement to reflect where we don't know where we're going. I don't think we know what we want.
I think that's kind of what we're working through.
Right.
Yeah.
But as far as the process, I mean, if we don't know what's broken, how do we fix it? And we have right here everything that we thought we were looking for. We could certainly go through that and say, no, that's not right. This is what we want to keep. This is what we want to change. And once we have all that ironed out, that since we've known what we've done, then we are able to come up with a vision statement, because it will reflect the work that we've already done, instead of trying to create something that sounds good and then try to make these pillars reflect that.
Oh, I mean, I think you end up in the same place, but it's just a matter of how you get there.
Yeah, the process.
I mean, I think if you do look at the 4 questions that we've been asked to, review before the session on the December 4th, and if you do it within, to your point and to Ian's point as well, I mean, if you do it within the context of, or sort of using the existing comp plan as a guide, I mean, I think that really does do a great job of helping you answer those questions. And I think that the big deal is, as long as the process is moving forward,
Sure.
then we can. I mean, I think that's sort of something we should certainly be. We don't want to get stuck anywhere. So I'm very much aware of that. But I do think that this early in the process, when that it is helpful to take a step back, be a little more aspirational, a little more general and broad, and then because, as you know, by the nature of the work that we do here, once you get sucked in the weeds, you can't get out of them. I mean, so anyway, I mean, in fact, I don't know, in all of my years as a planning commissioner, this is the first time I've been told to, not, go into the weeds. So yes, so it's an exercise we're all doing together. We'll get through it together.
Well, if I may, and from staff's perspective, we're going to get to the weeds of the plan. It's essentially this helps to lay the direction of which weeds we get into. And so from what I had envisioned essentially is that we set the vision statement, we set the pillars or essentially the categories that we're going to be breaking the plan down into, and then staff would essentially be looking at the existing plan and helping to identify what would fit where, and then we can decide as to what we want to keep and what we need to massage and tweak. But again, we'd be crazy to start completely from scratch and not take advantage of the existing document that's there, because I think, to your point, our vision hasn't changed so dramatically from when it was adopted.
No, I mean,
But it has, I think, evolved from
yeah,
that
it's like
time.
the urban development master plan that we did the year before. We picked 6 areas, and we tweaked them based on the owners acquiescing to doing what we wanted to do, and where the hotel used to be was supposed to be apartments. Well, now it's a parking lot. And so we were looking for one thing and we got something else, but we seem to be happy with that as well.
And again, that's the whole thing about a comp plan, is that it should be that living guide. It should also be a guide and not regulatory in terms of being so prescriptive as to what something's going to be. Part of the reason that the parking lot is there is because there was other language that talked about the need for additional parking in the downtown area. It had contemplated within the plan potentially structured parking, but from a cost effectiveness standpoint, that surface parking is far more cost effective and still retains the that land, if that parking demand in the future is not there, as potential for redevelopment options as well. Whereas a parking structure, much more significant initial expense and much more permanent in terms of its construction than a tarmac that is used for parking.
And just for another thing, the document I presented is not my authoring. It took, I think, 8 seconds for me to read it off of Google. I just asked it to create, using Culpeper as an acronym, create 8 pillars. And that's what I got.
Joys of AI, right?
But certainly you'd be
Again,
wordsmiths.
can be a very useful tool to help for things, but we'll always be very careful in terms of the actual utilization to make sure that we are keeping things reflective of the community desires and not simply what is spit out by a computer.
Because it's really not just the vision, it's the path to get there, you know.
And that's where, again, the comp plan is not a standalone document. We have the Culpeper 2030 and other supporting materials as well.
And then I do think it's important to remember that even though at this time, 5 of us are having these meetings and having these conversations, ultimately our role is as facilitators for input from experts and members of the community who basically who need to buy in order for this document to really mean something.
I think, Andrew, at some point you talked about like a skinny plan, right? Or am I imagining that? And what I think of that, what that brings to mind for me is the Constitution of the United States, where what's written down there is really very broad. It's a big structure, and within which we, the people, have been able to make adjustments, grow, develop, evolve, and deliberate to a very considerable extent, and not to compare our comprehensive plan with the Constitution of the United States. But that idea of a broad framework where we're not trying to be too specific, but we're trying to build the structure, we're trying to define a structure that is beneficial, sets beneficial guidelines for the community as a whole over the next 5 to 10 years, but allows for a lot of accommodation of new information as it comes along, and doesn't try to micromanage the residents or the developers or the guests as they over that period of time. Anyway, that's kind of what your characterization of it as a skinny plan made me think of, and I'm kind of on board with that for what it's worth.
Yeah, as I said, to build on that a little bit, my envisioning of a skinny plan is essentially that the plan itself will largely be composed of the policy aspects of the comprehensive plan. Mm-hmm. Much of the supporting information upon which those policy recommendations are based, we wouldn't have as formal adopted comprehensive plan language, because it's, for the most part, it should be objective language that is going to need to be updated over time. And so to take that out of the need for the public hearing update process for these updates for objective information, really keeping the utilization aspects of the plan where they have actual policy recommendations as the portion that is formally adopted and that would go through public hearing processes when needed to be changed or modified.
Any other questions for staff on the process? All right. Well, we look forward to this conversation again on December the 4th. All right. Moving on. New business?
No new business, Mr. Chairman?
Other business?
No other business, Mr. Chairman?
Follow-up items?
No follow-up items?
All right. Planning director updates?
Just one very brief one. Earlier this year, Mr. Pancotti received or was applied for and was successful in his application for for funding to develop new guidelines for the town's historic district. And so we are in the process of securing a consultant to aid with that particular process. We had interviews today and hope to make an award in the next week or so. And this will be probably an 8 to 9 month process, working with the consultant on that. These should hopefully work in concert to help complement the new UDO language and be focused particularly on the historic district and provide further, in this case, guidance as opposed to design standards, but new additional guidance on appropriate development and redevelopment within that area.
That will affect the ARB as well.
Yes, the ARB is involved.
Good.
So Mr. Gutowski and then Mr. Lysick, as someone who'd been involved for a long time, are part of the panel helping to select the consultants.
Are you looking at expanding the zone?
There is not any contemplation at this time. At the moment, the goal is really to provide a little bit more guidance within the guidelines, because right now they're very, very broad and vague. And so it's difficult for property owners to really get clear indication of what they should be doing. And it's difficult for the ARB when they're making their decisions to point to firm language within there to justify why they're approving something or not approving something. So we're going to try and give a little bit more visual representation for one, but also just sort of a lot of the things that we have within our UDO in terms of the presentation of it, with the more of the graphics and images, but then also just trying to update them with a little bit more specific guidance. And one of the things that we saw that liked was essentially a hierarchy of appropriateness. So essentially, this is the best, this is still okay, this is borderline, but this would not be acceptable. And so giving some examples along those lines for applicants and for the ARB.
With that, I'll ask that you just sort of keep us in the loop, because I know you have 5 people at this table who would be very interested in this process. All right. So, commission members' discussion. Anyone have anything for discussion tonight?
Again, sorry, I apologize. One other thing, mentioned previously, looking for, I'll send the formal email out, but a reminder, just if planning commissioners are wishing to attend the state planning conference next summer, I'd like to get a sense of the number, because it is departmental budget season coming up for the next fiscal year. And so I want to make sure I have that accounted for.
All right. So then we'll just say, as part of that December 4th meeting, that we tried to provide some guidance.
And I'll get the commission out the dates so you have that on your radar and can make that determination.
Thank you. Okay.
Motion for adjournment.
Can we just reestablish and just review the dates, the meeting dates in the holiday season?
Yes. So, right. So,
Sorry.
yeah.
Go ahead.
Yes. So we will not have a regularly scheduled work session on the 27th of November, because that is
Right.
Thanksgiving Day. Instead,
We could bring turkey.
we've moved that meeting until to Thursday, December the 4th.
Either that or you can provide a turkey.
Right. I'm here all the time. Okay, sorry.
I'll bring the wine.
So we'd move that to December 4th at 9 a.m. in I guess this building.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And then we will have our regularly scheduled meeting on December the 16th. Our work session for December would also be canceled, as that would fall on Christmas Day. So that at least gets you through the new year.
So Tuesday the 16th, we're having.
Tuesday the 16th.
Good thing I asked, because I have it down for the wrong day. It's 6, right? Or will it be a working session time?
No, it'd be the regular meeting, so 6 p.m. on Tuesday the 16th.
Having a working session that month. Or
Yeah, right after the 4th.
25th.
Yeah, we'll have 2 more. Yeah, we'll see each other 2 more times this year.
And the was it the 4th?
Yeah, the 4th. December.
That will be a morning meeting.
That's a morning meeting. Yep, 9 o'clock. All right, all set.
Thank you very much.
Motion for adjournment.
So we're adjourned.